Hello, my name is Catherine Carter. I am going to be discussing iterative design as an instructional model for education. I was not familiar with this design prior to this assignment. However, once I researched it more, it was very interesting to see the similarities and differences that it had with other more familiar instructional designs. The iterative design was actually grown from the works of Walter Shewhart in the 1930s. He proposed a series of cycles that involved a plan, do, study, act process. Now, it was kind of put to the side until later on because some pretty amazing things happened between the 1930s and the time that the waterfall design was actually created in 1970 by Winston Royce. And by the way, the waterfall design was very linear and rigid in nature. It didn't have a cyclical process like the iterative design did. Now, NASA kind of spearheaded iterative design with the development of the X-15 hypersonic jet in the 1950s, and then with Project Mercury in the 1970s. So with those, people began to look at the waterfall design and kind of be like, well, maybe we don't need to use that. Maybe we should do what NASA did and use the iterative design. And even since then, it has been used for the creation of web applications and is widely used in the gaming industry. Through my research, I found three really excellent examples of how the iterative process is used in education. Desai and Kamat used a group of college students to confirm that the iterative model of teaching and learning would actually improve student performance. Rolero and Camaseco used the iterative model to develop an online learning module for problem-based learning that was geared towards the K-12 sector. And then John and many others used the iterative approach to develop a problem-based STEM curriculum for our little pre-K babies. In the planning and requirements phase of the iterative design process, the instructor looks at the curriculum and decides what it is the students are expected to know and be able to do. In the analysis and design phase, the instructor analyzes the student's prior knowledge and then designs lessons that will address the content needs of the students. During implementation, the instruction actually takes place based on the prior steps. In the testing phase, the performance and content knowledge of the students is assessed. In the evaluation and review phase, the instructor looks at the student's results and then decides on the next steps. These steps are repeated as needed until acceptable mastery is achieved. It can be looked at as practice makes perfect because it gives students multiple chances to succeed. Both of the visuals that I have included illustrate that the process is definitely not linear and how the process is spiral or cyclical in nature. A real-life practical application that came to mind immediately was at robotics camp a few weeks ago. I am one of the coaches for my school's team this year, and the camp gives students a jump on the design process and experience building a working robot. My students definitely used an iterative design plan. At the beginning of camp, they learned the requirements for a robot. They analyzed what they needed to do and came up with a design. They implemented that design, they tested it, they then evaluated its successes and failures. They reviewed what needed to be done to improve it, and then they designed those changes um, based on their review. They went through many iterations over the 3-day camp. Did they end up with exactly what they wanted at the end of those 3 days? Not exactly, but they did come up with another plan for what needs to be done when we return to school in August.